From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports podcast.
The fastest growing entertainment phenomenon of this generation.
I, Prophet of Esports, joined today by my friend and co-host William Collis.
Yeah, we got the book of esports out. It's a big deal.
So everyone knows me as the Prophet and William as the Professor.
They may call me the Prophet, but in my life outside of the business of esports, I have worked on the investment side of the table for the better part of the last 2 decades. The single fastest growing area of gaming and esports is gambling. It's booming right now. You don't need to be a prophet like me to see that. However, as an investor, I've stayed away from gambling and betting companies because of the reputational risk and often shady nature of the companies involved. This was true until now. I've recently bought stock in a new public company called Esports Entertainment Group, or EEG, which is focused on esports and gambling. The big difference that changed my mind is that EEG is a public company, NASDAQ listed, and fully regulated, focused on esports betting. The regulatory and audit requirements of a public company are key in my mind to provide the needed transparency for players, bettors, and investors. I had an opportunity to host the CEO of EEG on this podcast a couple of months ago, and I was very impressed by his vision for the company. We've stayed in touch, and I'm delighted to announce that they've accepted to become a sponsor of the podcast. If you're a family office, institutional investor, or investor of any kind, really, Esports Entertainment Group, ticker symbol GAMBLE, GMBL, might be one of the best ways to get exposure to the esports betting space and gaming in general. Make sure to check them out at esportsentertainmentgroup.com. Having said that, I need to make sure to state that this is only my opinion. I'm not an investment advisor or selling stock in the company. Please make sure you do your own research and seek advice from a licensed professional if you're looking to invest in the field. From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports podcast. I am Paul Dewalibi. I'm joined today by my friend and co-host, William Collis. For those of you who are new to the podcast, welcome to the official podcast of esports. What we do here is we cover the most pressing gaming and esports topics and news of the week, but we look at all of it through a business and C-suite lens. We dissect, we analyze the business implications of everything happening in this industry. For our regular listeners, thank you guys for tuning in every week. Thank you for leaving those 5-star ratings and reviews. Thank you for telling your friends about the podcast. If you haven't done any of those things, please go do so. Leave that 5-star rating and review. Tell your friends about the podcast. This is how we have experienced the growth that we have over the years, and we thank you for it. Also, if you bought the book of esports, if you bought the greatest book in this industry, and really the only one you need to read if you care at all about the esports and gaming industry, if you bought that book, which you should have, go leave a 5-star review on Amazon. We know there's thousands of you who bought the book and didn't go leave a 5-star review on Amazon. So go do it right now. Pause the podcast, go do it, and then come back to the podcast. Okay, good. Now we can...
That was really good, guys. I truly appreciate that. Thank you so much. That was a big win.
William, how you doing this week?
I'm great, Paul. Yeah, I'm good. It's been busy week as always. I'm guessing it was a busy week for you.
It has been crazy, I will say. Just the whole, I feel like every week that goes by, the news that we see in the industry gets bigger and bigger. The things you and I are dealing with get bigger and bigger. The dollars seem to get bigger and bigger. Like, it's not a change that, you know how sometimes changes feel like they take forever? I feel like change seems to be happening so quickly here. And I don't know if that's just because we're in the weeds or...
I don't know. It's like acquisition season, and there's so much change, and like it's a very put it mildly, it's a very intense time. I feel like all the Q4 deals just kind of got crammed into late Q1 now is what it feels like to me. So there's just a ton of interesting rumors and discussions. And I agree, this is going to be a great episode. There's a lot we want to talk about.
There's a ton we want to talk about. We also have an amazing guest this week who I'm going to get to in a second, but I actually forgot before we get to that, guys, go buy some Team Profit or Team Professor t-shirts on the Business of Esports shop. I really would like to get to a point where we're completely sold out of those so we can decide who sold out fastest, right? We still need to we need to settle this Team Profit versus Team Professor
and specifically,
argument.
Paul means buy a Team Professor shirt so that I win that competition.
That's it. Please do, because no one wants my face on the shirt. At least put William on the shirt, on your shirt. No, this week, guys, we have an amazing guest. We have none other than Brandon Pitts, the CEO and founder of Play One Up, a very cool company in the esports and gaming space. Brandon, welcome to the Business of Esports podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So Brandon, for our audience who maybe doesn't know about you, doesn't know about Play One Up, I think it would be awesome if you could give our audience a bit of your background, how you got into gaming, what you're focused on at Play One Up, a bit about the business, just the overall sort of general overview of Brandon Pitts and Play One Up for our audience.
Yeah, for sure. So I've probably been playing video games since as far as back as I can remember. Around since I was about like 7 years old, and transitioned until high school. I used to always throw video game get-togethers in my mom's house, and she used to always like be screaming at me like, "You need to stop playing the game so much and go study or play some basketball, something that could pay off in the future." And then I ended up going to college to try to go pro in basketball, and ended up tearing my ACL. But one of the things that was always near and dear to me was video games, and so I used to always throw like video game tournaments in college. And after college, I started throwing video game tournaments as well. And I would rent out hotel rooms and things of that sort, and throw like tournaments, and people would come out. And it used to be these really, really cool experiences, man. And so I just wanted to figure out a way to, take that digital and make it so people could, join online and join our community online and actually compete in video games. And so I ended up founding an app called Play One Up, which is the world's first and only on-demand esports app. And we're focused on pioneering on-demand esports tournaments and eventually leagues. And so on one end of the spectrum, it's the safest and easiest way and the fastest way to create a tournament. And so we enable brands, celebrities, and influencers with all of the access and tools and payment systems and everything they need to kind of host and streamline their own tournaments online and engage with their audiences. And on the other side of the platform, we have the One Arena, where where all of the gamers around the world, regardless your skill level, you don't have to be a professional gamer, and you don't have to be a popular streamer to go get a piece of the action and monetize your skills. And so that's what we're focused on.
Hold on, I want to talk more about this in a second, but like I thought the intro was super interesting and actually like maybe deeply relatable for many people listening. Can you talk a little more about your experiences like playing games when you were younger, and just elaborate on that and how that led you to want to do something in gaming? Because I think that's like just an awesome catalyst, and I think a lot of people listening will be like, that's me too,
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I started playing when I was about 7 years old. The Sega Dreamcast was my first. No, the Sega Genesis was my first system, and then I had the Sega Dreamcast, and so on and so forth. And I always used to play like sports games; those were always my thing. And then, I always used to play with my friends, and I was the guy that I wasn't very, very good growing up, but I was decent, and so I will be the first guy I will always be the first one on the game system competing against my friends. It would always be about 5 or 6 of us, in my mom's living room. And I would be the first guy on the controllers because it's my house. I would be the first guy on the play, but I would be the first guy off as well, right? Because I would lose so fast. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to wait a whole nother hour to play. And, I got started getting smart, man. I started charging my friends to, use my video game systems because I was a little bitter. I wasn't that good to kind of stay on the system.
I love
See,
it.
I knew there was a good story there.
Yeah.
Go, Paul.
Brandon,
Go. Yeah.
no. For Play One Up, I'm just curious. Like, so just so I understand, there's two pieces to the business. One is essentially like would you describe it as player versus player betting? Is that how you would
Um,
describe the arena?
so
Or
so I think that was kind of like phase one for us. We've kind of transitioned away from the peer-to-peer sort of betting. Um, just the peer-to-peer betting pieces, that's betting on your video game skills is a very nascent vertical within esports, right? Like it's kind of like it's kind of cool, it's kind of like a luxury, but it's not really solving the big problem, right? And so we kind of pivoted more to focusing on like on-demand tournaments and on-demand leagues because we think that that's a very, very big problem that needs to be solved. And so being able to say, hey, I want to host a 32-man tournament and I want the buy-in to be $50 and I want to host it on this day and and being able to create a link and blast that out to your social media presence and allowing your audience to be able to sign up is really more what we pivoted to. And then the next chapter we're really gonna focus on demand leagues as well. But right now we're truly focused on demand tournaments.
and just so I understand that whole on-demand tournament thing, it's like, so there are very large tournament providers in the space, right? You have the DreamHacks, the ESLs, the EGLs, there's a lot of companies that put on tournaments. I think on a previous podcast, maybe 5-10 episodes ago now, I had commented on a story about Facebook gaming going and doing lots of community tournaments, right? Sort of like 20 or 30 people for relatively small prize pools. And my view was this was really untapped, right? That Facebook, I think, was doing a good thing because this is very grassroots kind of, tournament organization. Is that where you see like yourself playing? Like you want to capture that, not the big flashy, $10 million tournament, but like all those 20-30 man tournaments. Is that the thesis?
Yeah, I think when you look at what we're doing, you could scale as low as you want to go, or you could scale as high. So you could throw a 10,000 to 20,000 person tournament, or you could throw a 16 to 32 man tournament, and you could scale the buy-in, right? And you could schedule the tournament over a series of days or whatnot. And so I think when you look at what we've created, there's a lot of other platforms and other companies out there like the DreamHacks, right? But they specifically are focused on their own esports tournaments and events. And what we're focused on is providing the infrastructure and the technology for even you, Paul, or you, William, to be able to kind of host your own esports tournaments for your audiences and providing all of the tools and resources to do so in a very streamlined fashion.
So it's funny you say that because one of the things William and I have talked about was we always wanted to do a tournament with all the business people around esports because everyone on the business side tends to talk a lot of trash.
This is like a fantasy of ours. We want to call people on it. We're like, all right. You think you know your stuff? All right, let's go. Street Fighter Third Strike. Come on.
We might have to all huddle up and organize a big tournament or something, man, and see who's the best.
Like especially among like investors in the space, there's a part of me that just really would love to wipe the floor with all of them. But like, is Play One Up then essentially like white labeling a tournament? Would in that scenario, could we do a business of esports tournament like that, right? And it's essentially your technology underneath, but white labeled. Is that I'm just trying to
essentially, yeah, we basically so esports, the business of esports could kind of set up their own esports business on the Play One Up platform. And people could go and follow your organization and they'll get live notifications every time you guys post a tournament. And, we provide you guys with the vanity link. Additionally, we provide you with the whole payment infrastructure so you could actually charge and monetize your tournaments. We provide you guys with the automated bracketing as well as the whole support team and a support system to kind of streamline the process for you guys. So our whole focus is like really democratizing, being able to get into esports and just engage with your audiences, man. We got some some professional athlete investors and A lot of celebrities that are interested in engaging with their audiences and throwing tournaments, they just lack the resources and the infrastructure to do so in a streamlined way. And so I think that's kind of the niche that we're filling.
It's funny you mentioned the celebrity piece because, in the notes I had, I did see that you guys got Terry Rose. I don't know, I actually don't know how you
Terry
pronounce his
Rozier?
name. Terry Rozier
Yeah.
as an investor from the Charlotte Hornets. You have Victor Oladipo from the Houston Rockets, Denzel Ward from the Cleveland Browns. Like you have a lot of these celebrity athletes as investors in the business. I will say, if anyone who's listened to this podcast long enough, I guess I've been somewhat critical of athlete investors because I often think that maybe they don't understand at least the business side of the space that well. But do you see real value like that you're getting from those investors because their communities want to compete under that athlete's brand?
Oh, 100%. But I think what's the real value is all of the guys that you just named are avid gamers, right? And so they actually love gaming. And so being, empowering them with the resources and the tools to kind of host gaming tournaments in their downtime and engage with their audiences and their fans and being able to just enable them the ability to connect with their fans, give their fans shout outs or signed autographed jersey or even, Terry and I, when we first started Play One Up, Terry gave away 2 free courtside tickets to the Boston Celtics and Philadelphia 76ers game on Christmas. And we threw like a big 2K challenge and, a ton of people signed up. And the winners actually got to sit courtside at that game and meet Terry Rozier after the game and go out to dinner with him on Christmas Day. And so that was super cool. We really made some fans' day that day. And we plan to do a ton of, engaging experiences like that here in the nearby future as well.
And like going forward, if you fast forward like a year or two and you look at your business, you sort of project your business a year or two from now, do you feel most of the usage and engagement of the platform is going to come from celebrities sort of activating their community, running tournaments, things like that? Will it be mostly brands? Like what will the split be in your mind?
Yeah, I think it'd be a combination of both. I think it's going to shift more towards brands than celebrities. But we're picking up a lot of steam with the celebrities is reaching out to us organically that, they have a desire to kind of host their own tournaments in leagues as well. So just excited to kind of, transition in the future and kind of see the split and if whether there be more brands or more celebrities, but we're definitely focused on more brands for sure.
William, I don't know if you had any follow-ups on that or any questions.
No, I mean, it's an interesting broader question, Brandon. Maybe I'd kind of strengthen it or, generalize the question, which is how important, not just in, your business, but in tons of esports businesses, we've seen celebrity investment, right? It's almost in some sense becoming more common than not. Like some celebrity decide, I don't say that, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but like, do you feel it was an important catalyst forward for your business? Like, and do you think that would hold true so in other words, if you were going to get somebody starting an esports company today, would you say get a celebrity investor? You have to have it. It does so much. Or would you say they're great if they're the right fit, but don't go get anyone? Or like, what would be your recommendation to somebody based on that experience?
For us, I think that, with our main focus being on sports games, it was critical to kind of have some professional athletes to play NBA and basketball. But I think that it's all relative to the type of esports business that you're starting, right? Like a lot of people that may be starting a different sort of esports business, like a esports team, may not need a celebrity to really get that team going, right? And it's kind of a nice to have, but not a necessity. I think most certainly you can get a business going without a celebrity investor. For us, it was just, it really helped us in terms of creating awareness around our overall mission to unlock esports monetization for everyone.
Brandon, how do you drive growth going forward in a business like this? Like what are those levers that you sort of push or pull on to get from, I saw here that you have like 250,000 people on the app, right? Like, how do you get that to 5 million or 10 million?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty funny, man. Out of the like all of the users that are on the app today have came in a very, very organic way. Over like the last year and a half, we've been completely nose down, really focusing on product and the foundation and the fundamentals of the business. But moving forward, as we're transitioning into partnering with brands and more celebrities, I think that they're going to be huge catalysts to really drive into growth. At the end of the day, a lot of these bigger brands are looking to engage with in the esports space, but they just lack the infrastructure, right? And in some instances, the knowledge. And I think that they have amazing audiences, right? A lot of these brands have millions and millions of younger customers, and I think that that's going to be a huge catalyst. We got a ton of different strategies to really grow, but I think that the tournament partner program and technology is going to be huge for growth in the near term future.
Do you become really cozy with like all these esports agencies that are all now working with brands?
Sorry,
go ahead.
We've talked to quite a few esports agencies. Most of the agencies are really, really focused on esports on a professional level, though. And I don't know. I kind of got mixed feelings about esports on a professional level and then esports for everyone. I think that it's tough to really define the edges of the pie in esports right now, right? And so a lot of the brands, agencies that we're talking to, they don't really get what we're doing in a sense, right? They get it, but they're set in their ways in terms of really, really focusing on esports at a professional level. But I think that the pandemic is really forcing a lot of people to shift their thinking, because esports on a professional level is it's all over the place right now. It's kind of like at a standstill because there's no like in-person events. And so all of the big companies are are trying to shift to like digital esports, esports online. And so we're in a perfect position to kind of super serve and help a lot of these people with our platform.
I'm just curious to dig there a little bit, because I think it's an interesting point around like what are the edges of esports. And so I just have sort of a hypothetical situation, right? Like if you're Kellogg's, right, and you want to sell more cereal, are you better off going and sponsoring, Overwatch League, right? Pros stage, and you put your brand there? Or are you better off going and, creating a tournament on Play One Up and, getting it out there maybe with a celebrity and making a huge buzz around your own tournament with, call it amateurs, right? That are playing against each other, not pros. Like, obviously I think your feeling is the second one is more effective. But like, is that something you run into where brands are sort of trying to make that decision or figure out what is most effective?
Yeah, I think brands are really, really trying to figure it out. I think that, in order for more brands to get involved and engage on a sponsorship level, we're going to need a lot more esports teams to start up, or a lot more leagues, right? Because it's only so much advertising space and sponsorship space right now. And I think that, the vertical that we're focusing on, it actually gives the brands the opportunity to monetize instead of just kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that they, capture a lot of eyeballs. They can actually monetize and engage with the audience that they already have, and, focus on the outward growth and the word of mouth virality from throwing these cool, large scale tournaments online.
William, I saw you smiling when I started with Kellogg's. I feel like maybe you thought I was going to take that in a different direction.
I don't know. I might I don't know. My last question is just about the role of publisher power in this space, Brandon, right? And like, how do you see the interaction of a tournament platform like this, fitting with the publishers themselves that are the gate and the IP holders with the games? Like, how do you navigate those relationships? Like, what's the strategy there? Can you expound a little bit more on that?
Really good question.
So I think that's a great question too, William, by the way. I think that there's no easy way. A lot of, like, just being honest, a lot of people are kind of like trying to do their own thing and kind of avoid the publishers. And we're focused on the exact opposite, right? And so we're actually being very bullish and having conversations with the publishers. And we have some quite interesting conversations so far, and they all seem to kind of love what we're doing, and conversations are ongoing. But I think pretty soon enough, the publishers, like if you think about Activision, right? They kind of have their own thing with game battles. And so I think that a lot of publishers are kind of looking to get into the space that we're in. And so I think that right now, during the time of COVID, a lot of oddly enough, I think a lot of publishers are looking more to collaborate, with up and coming startups versus kind of like turning them away. And so you just got to kind of have a little bit of credibility and kind of grind the business up enough where you have enough substance for the publishers to take you serious. And I think that, there's just conversations that need to be had. There's no easy way to engage and have those conversations other than just approaching it head on and just speaking with them.
Partnering is obviously the ideal, right? The fear is always that they'll try and muscle you out or try and do it themselves. It sounds like I feel like that hasn't happened in a major way yet. So I think there is this window of opportunity, right? Where
I mean, I think it's a small window of opportunity, just being honest. I think that, COVID has presented us with a whole different look at esports, by the way, right? I think the publishers are looking for ways to innovate at the cheapest cost possible. Versus just having to pivot their whole business strategy to focus on like platforms similar to ours. So I kind of think that that's our kind of competitive advantage, if you will. But however, I think that partnerships with the publishers are critical to maximum scale and having a successful esports business of this kind, for sure.
I love it, guys. William, unless you have other questions, I want to jump into some topics here.
I think let's go topics. Let's roll. There's a lot to discuss. Yeah.
We do have a lot to discuss. We have some big ones this week. Let's start with, I think it's always makes sense to start with the biggest number, right? I mean, let's start with the biggest number this week. And that is none other than Microsoft and Discord in the news. This is an article from cnet.com. The headline here, Microsoft reportedly in talks to buy gaming chat app Discord for $10 billion. I particularly love the subheadline. You can tell CNET really is the destination for hardcore gaming audience. The app allows gamers to talk while playing video games because evidently you can't talk otherwise. You're mute.
To be fair, sorry, I'm laughing at this. I don't know why this cracks me up so much. To be fair, it's a very helpful description. Like, if you didn't know what Discord was, like, it's a pretty good one sentence headline. It's just sort of like, it reads to me like a headline at McDonald's, like McDonald's in talks to sale for, $72 billion. Like, business allows people to get hamburgers quickly. It's just like, we know.
Yeah. And Discord,
it was a great way to kind of like simplify it. They just got like straight to the point with that, right?
They did. It's a very good summary. It's just funny to see Discord needing to be summarized, they
didn't squeeze metaverse in there anywhere. So I'm sure someone at Discord was upset.
So Discord is furious right now. They're like, allows gamers to talk in the metaverse.
In the metaverse, right? Like that would have been been so much stronger. Look, guys, there's not much to this story other than there are rumors that Microsoft's in negotiations to acquire Discord. $10 billion is what's been rumored as the price tag. Just as some background, like 4 or 5 months ago, they raised around at a $100 million raise at a $7 billion valuation. And a year before that, they had raised money at a $3.5 billion valuation. So they had doubled in valuation over a year. And now going from 7 to 10 over the last 4 months, if you believe these rumors. In total, they've raised, I believe, about a bit over $400 million. It's not in this article, but I think their total was somewhere over $400 million. What do you guys think of Microsoft buying Discord? Pros, cons? Is the price here reasonable, crazy? Curious to get your overall thoughts.
Brandon, do you want to go first? I have so many thoughts here, but maybe
go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon, you're the guest.
I think it's a big number. I think the number is staggering. but I'm a huge fan of Discord, man. I think that it serves a purpose. I think they have a ton of users. I'm just happy. I'm just excited to see how it plays out. I'm interested to see kind of how it all unravels and plays out, and if the rumors prove out to be true.
So do you just to put you on the spot, Microsoft brilliant here, or you think they're crazy to be paying $10 billion for this?
I plead the fifth.
Okay. I will just add also to your comment about users. Discord, the last they reported, so a few months ago when they raised that $7 billion, that $100 million round at a $7 billion valuation, they had reported 180 million monthly active users. Just to
Which
put
is
that in
ridiculous.
perspective, Twitter does 130 million monthly actives. So like,
Yeah, so that's ridiculous. I think Microsoft it definitely seems that it makes sense. It's just all about how Microsoft on their whole strategy with it, right? I mean, it's kind of like it's just they're
You can
just
say
snapping
it.
it up.
Do they mixer it? Is that it?
Oh,
You could-
Mixer is
I
not
don't-
the right analogy here, guys. The right
Okay.
analogy is Skype.
oh, do they Skype it?
Do they Skype it? Yeah.
Yeah, I hope they don't do what they did with Mixer.
Okay. William, you had some thoughts, I'm
Well,
sure.
I have 3 thoughts on this.
Okay.
So first is let's talk about the strategy, right? Like pretty good strategy for Microsoft, I think, right? Like if you look at what they're doing in gaming, what they're trying to own, right? I think it makes a lot more sense if you have the Mixer asset too. I really do, right? Like
Isn't this weird?
It's like so weird to me to be letting Mixer go and then buying the perfect feeder for Mixer. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy to me that that's the world we live in, but whatever. Okay. I don't know. But anyway, but leave it. But let's pretend Mixer didn't exist. Like they've never tried that. It's great. Microsoft has Games Pass. I always think Microsoft should be looking for businesses that pair well with Games Pass. I think this is the natural marriage to Games Pass, right? Because now they've got games distribution. Now they're actually injecting into the game relationship with dialogue, right? They probably have a massive audience to move Game Pass to here. Like I think it's a great strategic move. I fully support it. I think there are only a few companies that it does make sense for Discord to be acquired by, just because of the scale of it. Like there's only a few companies that can probably afford to buy them. And I would put Microsoft at the top of the list. I would also put Amazon even higher, by the way. I'm a little bit like Amazon here. Don't fall asleep at the wheel. What's going on? But leave that aside, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is we got to talk about that price. $10 billion. Okay. Now I know that we live in a modern world where we're starting to get desensitized to the $1 billion figures, but I go back to my favorite metric, Star Wars. This is 2.5 Star Wars, people. Is this really worth 2.5 Star Wars? Right?
William, you know how much your metric has become like common sort of thinking now. We had tweets at the Business of Esports saying, literally when this news broke, like, hey, this is not so bad. It's only like 2 Star Wars.
There you go. There you go. It's like a serious thing because we lose all ability to understand dollar signs when numbers get this big. So you have to put it in terms of understand. And like I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest, the monthly active user number is incredibly impressive. I mean, more than Twitter, right? Like that is stunning. However, is it Luke, Leia, Darth Vader, Darth Maul, times 2?
Jar Jar
right?
Binks.
Jar Jar
don't
Binks.
leave out Jar Jar.
Don't leave them. Don't leave out everyone. Yeah, I know. Every character has their day. The prequel movies are having a resurgence now, Paul. Get on the bandwagon. they were So, I do, I wonder because the question is at the end of the day, the users have to monetize. And the reality is, I don't know how well Discord monetizes, but I'm curious, Brandon, have you ever paid $1 to Discord?
Never paid $1 to Discord.
I mean, that sort of seems
I
to
have.
be what did you pay $1 to Discord for?
For
Paul?
Nitro, which is their like premium subscription, essentially.
Okay, well, you are totally price insensitive. So, but like most users, just my understanding is, I don't know if the right metric to be marrying Discord on is MAU. It might be paying MAU, right? How many people are Nitro users? And I bet there, because the reality is the graveyard of esports is littered with great voice chat software solutions that disappeared as soon as they started to monetize. Because the whole value of the voice chat solution is it's unintrusive and slips into the game experience. Now, I kind of think Discord, I'm really changing my tune on Discord. I think some of the stuff they're doing with servers and things presents much more sustainability. It's more like a community investment play, but I do still have reservations there. So the second thing is the price. Like I'm just really on that price. And then the third thing I think about for this is the timing of the acquisition, right? Because Microsoft also just bought, as we know, because we had the gun about Bethesda, right? Like this is a huge second bite at the gaming apple to be looking at taking so quickly. If you're like the signal to take away here is look corporately to get through two acquisitions of this size and this time scale, gaming must be like a triple A priority for Microsoft right now. And so I think that tells you as an outside observer how important this pivotal tech company to really most modern solutions in our lives views gaming. And I think it's a great signpost to the success in the moment gaming is having right now, because I just like, can you imagine if this were a low priority business trying to get through a couple, back-to-back multi-billion-dollar acquisitions, let alone one? Like it shows that they're on the hunt to really expand and shore up the sector. And that brings me back to the first point, which is it makes that Mixer thing even stranger, because if there's so much political will in the organization around gaming, why would you cede the streaming space, which to me seems to be one of the single most important elements of the space to own from an ecosystem perspective?
You're forgetting they have MSN Esports Hub, William. Okay. They didn't. Everyone knows how big that is. No,
everyone knows how big MSN is.
I have some thoughts, but before I get to it, I have a question for both of you guys. Assuming this deal happens, does Discord fall under Microsoft's gaming division, right? Do they report essentially to Phil Spencer, or is this under their like collaboration software division? Like, is this become part of Microsoft Teams and Skype and that kind of thing?
Well, Brandon, you want to answer? Brandon, or do you have a thought? Or?
I think it's. I'm not sure, William. That's a question I think you might be able to answer better. I have no idea. I think maybe the Skype, and I think the second choice that you said, right? But I mean, it is a gaming app, but it's more of a communications tool, I believe.
Brandon, here's a question for your own business, because I know for mine, I'm now full Discord. I hate Slack. I'm full Discord. Do you use Discord for your business?
I don't.
Use Slack or Teams?
I use Slack right now. Yeah, I use Slack. Yeah, we use Slack.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
William, where do you think this falls under?
Well,
and where do you hope it falls under, I guess?
I have to hope Microsoft is looking at Skype here. I really wasn't facetious when I said that. Like, I have to hope they're looking at Skype and saying, we can't repeat this, right? Because let's be honest, guys, there was a time when Skype was it for how you talked over the internet. Like, it was it. Like, and now, I mean, I don't know user numbers, anybody cares, but like, has anyone here made a Skype call in the last year?
No.
Right? But if I'd asked you that question 5 years ago, I think we all would have said, yeah, I made a Skype call yesterday, right? Like, so I really hope there's a political understanding here that they did something wrong with Skype and that it needs to be treated differently. And that makes me hope it goes to the games unit, because that seems to be where it belongs, right? However, here's the however. To justify $10 billion, I don't think you're a games only solution. That's the problem, right? I think there's a cap on how big you can be as voice chat for gamers, right? And I think to justify, because again, Microsoft can't just be hoping to break even on a $10 billion business. They have to be hoping this is a 20, 30, $100 billion proposition. I think this has to be looking at corporate productivity software in those units for Microsoft. And that also, by the way, makes it make a lot more sense in the context of shutting down Mixer and what else I had just said, right? Because maybe this isn't just an acquisition around shoring up Microsoft's gaming unit. Maybe it's also acquisition about shoring up Microsoft's, Office solutions, right? Which makes it a lot more palatable and understandable in that view. But that to me is also kind of the mistake here, because I don't know how well Discord manages that transition. I don't know if Discord is designed for that. And I don't know if the user base that has sustained it for so long will accept that as an outcome. Like, part of the reason why Discord works is it's for gamer. It feels like a thing you do for gaming. if Discord felt like a thing you did to talk to your boss, I think Discord might lose a lot of its appeal. You know what I mean? Like, I hate to say it, but we've seen many, many examples where networks differentiate based on the use purpose. Great example is even within Microsoft, like LinkedIn, right? Like LinkedIn built a separate business from Facebook because you're talking to a different audience on LinkedIn. So you're presenting a different side of yourself. And my concern is that there's real risk of a Skype repeat if Microsoft pushes this in that productivity services space. But that's probably where it needs to go to justify the price.
William, I agree with so much of what you said. I think I totally disagree with you on the price thing. I think if Microsoft, I will just say this, if Microsoft gets Discord for $10 billion, this will be the biggest corporate steal of all time. I literally of all time of any industry in terms of an acquisition. Because just look at what's first of all, they raised their last round at $7 billion. $10 billion is not a huge premium. And if you look at what's happening in gaming, you look at Unity at $30 billion and Epic, raising money in a private round at $28 billion, and you have Skills at $10 billion, and you have all these other sort of companies that have gone public and been Roblox at 40 something billion, right? All these companies that have gone public at massive, massive valuations and revenue multiples. At 10 billion, Discord seems like a real bargain given the massive user base. And while I agree that monetization is an issue, right? This is how most social networks grow up. It's build a massive user base and then worry about monetization. And while, Discord Nitro, yes, I pay for it. And I do think there are some features that are worth the $10 a month or whatever. I do think they will figure out the monetization. I actually think Microsoft will help them. And you pointed out Games Pass. I think that's brilliant, right? Why offer a combined sort of product where you get some premium Discord stuff? And Discord has already built the launcher piece. Like they tried to be a game launcher, and that didn't really work out. But maybe with Game Pass behind it, that becomes a thing. They've done streaming, maybe better than Twitch even or YouTube. Like almost everyone I play with streams on Discord far more than they do on Twitch.
Could that be why they bought it after Mixer?
Possibly.
Well, I'm going to get to the Mixer because the Mixer thing doesn't fit, right? So the piece, it's like you do the whole puzzle and there's like this one extra piece and you're like, how does this make sense? But fundamentally at 10 billion, this is a steal. Because of that, I think there's no way the deal happens at 10 billion. Like if I'm the founder, if I'm the CEO of Discord, I'm going, why would I just raised money at 7 billion. I look at all these I look at all these comparables. I know I could probably go public easily at 20 or 30. Why would I take 10? And I come up with only maybe two answers. Either one, he doesn't want to manage a public company, which is its own massive headaches. And maybe Microsoft, the idea of, all the synergies with Microsoft makes his life seem a lot simpler and happier. Or, or there's some reason why they just can't go public. Like, I don't know what skeletons did. Like, I'm not suggesting anything, but like, I really wonder why you would exit to Microsoft at 10 when there's a clear path to an IPO at 2 or 3 times that. My conclusion, therefore, is if Discord does sell to Microsoft, which I think it might, we're probably going to end up at a number like 15. And I think then you sort of weigh the pros and cons of being a public company. You go 15 in a private deal to Microsoft feels like a lot less headache and work than going public at 20. And I think that's where this might shake out. And I would argue even at 15, it would be the biggest bargain of all time. And you get sort of people like Slasher who don't know anything about business going, well, Microsoft is so stupid. Look what they did with Skype and Mixer. And I go, okay, but look what they did with Minecraft, right? Minecraft is a juggernaut today. They paid $2.5 billion for that. Like, to me, this is going to be another Minecraft. They're going to pay some amount that 10 years from now, or even 5 years from now, we're going to look back and go, those guys were geniuses. Brandon, I saw you wanting to get in here. Sorry.
Yeah, guys, that's just points, man. I think, the way you just broke it down, Paul, was perfect. I think I don't know, like William said, Skype is kind of like nobody's heard about it, and like you said, most people are using Discord today to communicate. And I do know a lot of people that do use it to communicate, and with company wide outside of gaming. So I don't know. I think that it would potentially be a steal. I can't get wrapped around the monetization right now for Discord. It's just I don't know. I mean, I never paid $1 to Discord, so I think it might be one of those things where they're acquiring it for the users, and then Microsoft is going to figure out how to truly monetize.
I think so. I agree with that. And I also think, again, it's just sort of the natural life cycle of these kinds of companies. It's get tons and tons of users and eyeballs first, because you need that scale to be able to monetize something like this. And I think they just haven't put a lot of effort there, would be my guess, if I was sort of inside the room at Discord, because they've been well funded, right? The growth has been massive. And if I'm on the board there, or I'm an investor there, I'm going, just keep your foot on the gas, right? Like when we get to 200, 300 million users, we're going to create far more value than showing like 100 million or 200 million in revenue. And so like, I just think that they've played it really smart and up until now. Discord has been, when anyone asks me sort of the private company to watch, to me, they're the top of my list. It will be interesting to see sort of what they exit at, or if they or one other thing, and I'll put this on the table for you guys, and I'm curious to get your thoughts. Is this all just a big play ahead of an IPO to generate a bunch of buzz?
Possibly. I think they should start a bidding war. I think if I was the founder of Discord, I would start a bidding war right now between Microsoft, Amazon. Like it's a perfect foundation to kind of stir some things up.
I mean, no question, right? William, you brought up Amazon. You feel there's a strong fit there?
Yeah, I mean, is that what's going on here? Like, did this leak? Because it's a rumor, right? Did a rumor because they're in the negotiation? They're like 10 billion. I think we can do better, guys. What happens because I guarantee you, if you think that price is so good, and I dispute that, Paul, I'm not sure that price is so good, but let's take your view here, because I actually think, even though I dispute, I think you might be right, but I inherently dispute you because we disagree. That's fine. But let's leaving that aside, leaving the inherent dispute aside, like, if that's true, it's gotta, like, the rumor's more likely to have come from Discord, right? And I think if this is the case, it's very smart, because you're saying you're in the market, you're looking for an exit. It's probably right in the context of going public at 20 or some number around that, and not wanting to deal with that work, right? And that headache and that risk and everything. And so, yeah, I wonder if the interesting thing will be, there's a great history of people swooping in on these acquisitions. Look at Twitch, right? Almost bought by Google, snapped by Amazon in the last minute. I wonder if we'll see something like that here.
Well, because money talks, right? Like if you're Discord, and to Brandon's point, like a bidding war is what you want, right? And you're either leaking this to start a bidding war, or because you're planning on going public and you want to generate a lot of buzz, right? Like even if an IPO is 6 or 12 months away, now you've pegged yet another higher price, right? Like I can imagine between now and an IPO reading other rumors at other valuations. It'll be interesting to see. So I just a show of hands, not verbally, because it's a podcast and people not always watching this, but who thinks this deal closes to Microsoft at 10 billion?
No, I don't think so.
Brandon?
No one. I don't.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Neither of you think this deal closes to Microsoft at 10. I agree with you, but I think it's because of it closes at a higher price.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Before we get to our next story, I just want to say one quick word. For those of you guys who follow me, I've stayed away from the esports betting space and gambling space because of the reputational risk and some of those risks involved. That's been true up until now. We had the CEO of a company called Esports Entertainment Group on the show a few months ago. They're a NASDAQ listed company, fully regulated. Esports betting is literally the fastest growing part of the esports industry. I highly recommend checking out this company if you want to play in the esports space, if you want to invest in the esports space. It's esportsentertainmentgroup.com, ticker symbol GMBL. Having said that, this is not I'm not selling any stocks. I'm not giving any advice here. Make sure you do your own homework and consult with a professional before you invest. Let's talk about, guys, GameStop. GameStop's been, we've done the GameStop story, I feel like 3 or 4 times now. It's never really been a gaming story, frankly. And I feel like that's true up until now. It finally is kind of a gaming story now. And that is because this is an article from Shack News. They announced on their earnings call this week that they're planning to expand into PC gaming, monitor, and gaming TV sales. So the CEO basically saying that they're expanding out of just games and consoles, basically. And with their board member, Ryan Cohen, who comes from Chewy, or who was the founder of Chewy, they want to become more of an e-commerce play and expand into other areas like PC gaming. I'm curious if you guys believe, we've talked at length about GameStop. First of all, do you believe that the e-commerce pivot is the right one, A? And B, if you're going to pivot, does staying sort of niche on consoles and games and used games like they are the right move, or do you think they need to expand as they've announced?
I'll start off. I think a pivot is necessary for GameStop, because without a pivot, like right now, they're going to end up like Blockbuster, right? And it'd be kind of like the Blockbuster Netflix sort of situation. And so I think that a pivot is, essentially the right strategy, is just if they could pull it off and, transition into a healthy pivot. So I think that Ryan Cohen, the board member, and I think he's the largest shareholder over there as well.
Yes.
I think he's truly pushing for the right thing. It's just a matter of, at the end of the day, pivots aren't easy. And, people have to be receptive to the pivot. And so I'm not sure if it'll work, but I definitely think that it's, they're trending in the right direction in terms of thinking about a pivot, for sure.
And let me just dig further here, Brandon, which is like, they're not just saying they're pivoting here. They're saying they're pivoting and they're expanding sort of the scope of their business, right? And this expanded scope, I would argue, now puts them in direct competition with Newegg, Micro Center, Best Buy, Amazon, right? Where it's not just games, used games and consoles, but now they're going to have video cards and TVs and, a whole bunch of other stuff that GameStop historically never sold. Do you think this is just foolhardy, or do you think this is really smart?
I think it's a little foolhardy. I'm afraid to admit, man. I think that, they're just hungry to make something happen. And that, I don't know, man. I just think that they're in a real tough spot right now with everything that's going on with GameStop, man. And I think that I'm afraid that if they don't do that, end up blocked. That's just my opinion.
William, how do you feel about this now the first public announcement, right? This was.
Well, I want to ask you, Paul. I kind of want to turn it on you because, and I want to ask you, why do you think GameStop is going to be good as a retailer of stuff like PC monitors and things? Like, what would be their unique strategic advantage here?
I mean, William, it's a really good question, right? And I can only answer with, and my answer is going to be sort of not a direct answer, but I think I'm going to get to the answer you're looking for, which is, what are the things I personally look for in an online retail experience, right? And I think, and I put these maybe in some order from sort of most important to least important, and I think some of them are probably pretty close. But for me, most important is they have the product I want, and I don't have to wait 6 weeks for it, right? Like when I decide I want to buy a new monitor, and I've done all the research and I've made the decision, like I don't want to wait 6 weeks. So they have to have it in stock. Priority number one. Second priority is the price has to be competitive, right? If they're $50 more than the next guy, I have no reason. I don't think anyone's going to have much loyalty to GameStop if their prices are higher. And then third is like, what is the customer experience when things go badly? Like I need to return something, or something arrives and it doesn't work. Like I think Best Buy is probably one of the better ones in the space, and maybe why I spend more there even than than an Amazon in some cases, because they have a 45-day return window instead of a 30-day return window. So there, in order, to me, those are the factors. The question is, can GameStop be competitive on any of those factors? Right? Can they carry the same stock as an Amazon or a Best Buy? That's very debatable, right? Unless you turn all the stores into mini warehouses, mini fulfillment centers. The second one on price, again, can they order the volumes of an Amazon or a Best Buy? Today, probably not. So can they be as competitive on price? If they want to take losses, maybe, right? Like, or they want to have very small margins just to be competitive, potentially. And third, customer experience. Maybe they win there, right? Maybe that's where Ryan sort of puts all the effort and says, look, we know we maybe won't have the same thing in stock all the time, and maybe we're not the best price, but if the experience is just amazing for whatever reason, that's where we win. I don't know if that answered your question, William, but to me, those are the three places that they could win.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you described, I think, the three common ingredients for success on an e-commerce model, which is usability, price, and recovery, right? Those are like the three trends. Yeah, I mean, Brandon, I kind of want to throw it back to you, because I think I'm making a point by asking a question here. Like, do you think that if we think those are the three factors, and I mean, sounds like you grew up on Sega, so you probably spent your fair share, like me, in a GameStop. Like, you were probably waiting in line for Shenmue, like I was for the Dreamcast. Let's just let that sink in for a moment, that you waited in line for Shenmue.
It make me feel old, right?
Yeah, I'm feeling like I need a moment to reflect on the cold wind blowing on my face as I walk uphill to school.
You had no shoes on, right, William?
Yeah,
no shoes.
I was there when Ryu was it Ryu Suzuki? What was the guy's name? I can't remember. Anyway, I was there. I was there when Lon D killed my father.
I didn't go to GameStop. I was the PC gamer at home. So there was nothing at GameStop for me.
Didn't they? I don't know.
There used to be lines wrapped around the corner when the games dropped at GameStop, especially NBA 2K and Madden. And now you could just download it right from the freaking system.
We lose something though. I remember the Halo 2 midnight release, and that was a moment. You know what I mean? That was a moment in time. Everybody was there for the same reason, and it's just it was a great community sense.
I think that nostalgia, though, William, biases people, right? You look back on it fondly, but no one, people, it used to be fun to wait for the new iPhone, right? You'd get in line 8 hours before to wait for but now you can just order it and it arrives the same day. If push came to shove, while we look back on those experiences fondly, I think no one wants to re-experience them.
No, I mean, the reality of all of this is, it would be like saying, oh, it's so terrible that I instantly stream my movies on Netflix. I much prefer having to drive, 6 miles down the road, wait in line, discover it's out of stock, and compromise with
William, you need to watch The Last Blockbuster on Netflix. Did you watch it?
No, I didn't.
It's like this exactly, right? But there are people who want that nostalgia and are oh, the smell of the cover, or there are nostalgic feelings that could drive some business.
No, and to some extent, there's value in the old model, right? I think there's probably something around maybe the record. Well, why are we discussing?
Yeah.
Why are we discussing?
You had a question for Brandon.
Video rental store should still be around. I think that's a case that's settled.
That's settled. Yeah, the market has spoken.
Yeah, that one got sold for us. Convenience wins. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah.
Sorry, you had a question for Brandon.
Yeah, well, my question for Brandon is: so of those three factors, take the nostalgia glasses off. Right, we're no longer waiting in line for Soul Reaver at the pick another Dreamcast classic. What do you like?
Man's an encyclopedia of gaming.
Do you see them winning on any of those three factors? Do you see GameStop today winning on the usability of the platform, the price, or the service recovery to Pulse Point if something goes wrong?
I'm gonna give you guys my honest opinion. I think GameStop is a dinosaur, and I think that they need like a miracle to, make this transformation. So I mean, I'm rooting for them because I've always been a fan of GameStop. But I think if they don't move fast, then their time is definitely gonna run its course, very, very soon. I mean, I think that they I don't know, I think that they gotta kind of transition and transform their team. Something isn't ticking right internally. At GameStop. I don't know what it is. I'm not a part of the internal team. We only know what we know from the outside looking in. But I think GameStop definitely had its time. I think that we all, have to admit that. I just think right now they're on the cusp of becoming, knock on wood, because I don't want this to happen to anyone, but they're on the cusp of becoming Blockbuster. And I don't know if a better experience, customer experience would do it. I don't know if, them shifting the, playing in the same markets that Best Buy and Micro Center is going to do it. I just don't know. I'm praying for those guys though. I just think it's tough right now.
Hold on, Brandon. That was such a refreshingly direct assessment. It kind of leads me to ask another question, which is a little unrelated, but I want to kind of give you a platform here. Like, are there any other businesses like that in esports or gaming today that you look at and you're like, man, these guys is just like, it's not happening. Like they're past it. It's not happening. Like their golden years are behind them. I'm just curious, like as somebody who's building, businesses in this space, like, are there any other big companies you look at and just being like, no,
Honestly, I think that the whole pro esports thing is like a big facade, right? Like, I don't know. I'm interested to kind of see how that plays out, like with these teams and these arenas and all of this stuff. I mean, if a lot of people don't pivot to really focusing on digital transformations very soon, look at Activision. They just laid off, 50 plus people in a recent layoff, and you guys spoke about this on the last episode, right? And I think that Activision is focusing more on the digital transformation and taking their esports events digital and online, right? And so the layoff was unfortunate, but I think the idea is right on why the layoffs happened. And I don't know, man. It's in terms of esports, I just think that the whole teams thing is so not scalable. I think the 2K league is doing a good job. I also like the Call of Duty league, but in terms of platform businesses, I don't know. I think that a lot of platforms it's still, it's going to take a little bit of time to tell, right? Like who's going to make it in terms of platforms and who's not. But I think that the whole professional esports scene it's a little hyped up, right? Like I don't think it's all what people are hyping it up to be. I don't.
I agree completely, Brandon. I always describe it as the tip of the iceberg. It's the part that everyone sees, but the real like mass of the opportunity is all underwater, right? It's all like, it's everything you don't necessarily see day to day. So I love that take. Look, Brandon, before we wrap up here, anything would love for you, like if people want to find you, how can they find you, and sort of how can they find Play One Up? Like anything you want to sort of leave them with, or last thought? Or
yeah. So you could follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Play One Up. You could also go download the app in the Apple App Store at Play One Up as well. We got Android dropping here very, very soon, so you'll be able to find that on the Google Play Store at Play One Up as well. And those are the easiest ways to find us. Download the app, leave us a positive rating, try it out. Super cool app, man. We got some celebrity hosted tournaments, and we just want to make the esports pie bigger and unlock and empower esports monetization for everyone. So get an app a try, and go download the app and give us a shout and let us know how you liked it.
And we have a lot of business people, obviously, who watch and listen to the show. I assume you're just Brandon Pitts on LinkedIn if people want to
Yeah,
find
I'm just
you
Brandon Pitts on
specifically.
LinkedIn. It's weird. I don't have an Instagram or Facebook, or I'm kind of like super under the radar. I'm like flying under the radar. But yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn at Brandon Pitts. Reach out to me directly. I promise I'll respond. Yeah, but I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Instagram, Facebook, any of that stuff.
LinkedIn's perfect, especially for our audience. So thank you, William. Thank you as always. Guys, don't forget, if you bought the book of esports, please go leave a review on Amazon. The book sold incredibly well, but so many of you did not. And I know so many of you who enjoyed the book did not go leave a review on Amazon. So please go do that. Also, make sure to follow us everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It's all at Busy Sports. As always, this episode drops every Thursday. But if you're not already, check out our weekly live streams, guys. We do them every single Wednesday evening, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. It's all the stuff that we couldn't fit into the podcast. It's all the news stories that we didn't cover. And the best part is it's incredibly interactive. You get to come ask questions. Think of it as like a better Clubhouse. Even though we also do Clubhouse Future of Fun Fridays every single Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So if you prefer to do it that way, you can come ask us questions directly on those Clubhouse chats every single Friday. Thank you, guys. Thank you, William. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you guys next week.